Saturday here at Silverstone saw the start of the British Talent Cup, the Honda British Talent Cup of 2022, and away they went. It was lightweight Johnny Garness who had qualified on the pole position, and a really smart ride for the man from Ilfracombe in Devon. Harley McKay was one of the early fallers. There was then a fear of oil having gone down when Harrison McKay's bike unusually blew up, but oil had not gone down. However, at this point, I can now reveal, Johnny Garness just dropped back to about 4th place, allowed the others to hit the scene first in case any oil had gone down. Very smart tactics, cunning stuff from the young rider, number 57 with the shark teeth helmet. There he was, a big win in the end. And he leads the championship heading into race 2 now on Sunday. So, race 2 of the season for the Honda British Talent Cup here at Silverstone. Remember, it's the fastest laps of race 1 which decides the grid for race 2. So you can see Carter Brown, who was also quickest in the warm-up earlier on this morning in these ideal conditions here in Northamptonshire, on the pole position. But let's just run through that top 6 on the grid. Keanu Vaya here, who qualified on the front row in qualifying, but was the 6th fastest lap time in yesterday's race. The Dutch rider is 6th on the grid. Peter Willis here from Northern Ireland, one of the many MLab Vision Track Academy riders, joins him just to his left, and to Peter's left here, 4th on the grid is Rhys Stevenson, and some massive improvements from Rhys with the Rocket Racing machine, following the advice of Matt Belchin and Alex Baldolini, who work alongside the Talent Cup riders on behalf of MSVR and Dorna. Here's Johnny Garness. He has to be the favourite, judging by yesterday's race. Let's see what he can do from there. Harrison Crosby on the Banks Racing machine. Very experienced team with lightweight category racing. The middle of the front row, easy to spot him, yellow livery. And here then is Carter Brown, number 74, was a regular front runner in last year's championship and a multiple race winner. He finished 2nd, just 6 points behind Casey O'Gorman, who this year is racing in the Red Bull MotoGP Rookies Cup and the European Talent Cup as well. Taylor McKenzie and Greg Haynes are with you. Taylor, now team manager, of course, this year with Michael Laverty's Vision Track Academy in the Moto3 World Championship. And already with Scott Ogden, you've scored points in 2 of the opening 4 Grand Prix. But what's it like to be the boss?
Yeah, it's been a fantastic start to the year for us. We're a completely new team, new in the Moto3 World Championship, and it's also great for me to be able to come back and watch this race too. We've got a lot of up-and-coming Brits in this championship, and yeah, it's fun. I can sort of sit here doing a little bit of scouting whilst I'm commentating at the same time.
Yeah, and of course your brother Taz isn't racing at the moment, out injured in BSB. So your dad Neil, we worked out, it's the first time in 15 years that he's been at a BSB event with neither of the 2 of you racing.
And he still seems pretty stressed.
So here's the standings after that first race here yesterday. Obviously mirrors the results of race 1. 5 points between the top 2. Carter Brown 9 behind, but it is Carter who starts on pole position for this one. And every point counts down to 15th place. 2 warm-up laps for each of the races this weekend on this very short 1.6 mile track at Silverstone, the 2nd shortest on the calendar. Knockhill, of course, the shortest, and we'll be going there later in the year. But it's a great calendar for the Talent Cup, and it's taking in the British Grand Prix as well on the full circuit here. So, fastest laps from yesterday. Grid for today: Carter Brown, Crosby, Garness, 1, 2, 3. Brown and Garness are teammates. Stevenson, Willis, Vaya is row 2. That's Keanu Vaya, but his brother Colin is a Red Bull rookie star. Correa is from America. Harley McCabe and McKay alongside him from Bailey Stewart. Campbell, an incident yesterday. Hitchcock and Desoy. Roosbury, one of the new Dutch riders, number 84. Taddy, you said to watch out for him, didn't you, at the start of the weekend? And sure enough, he was up there in yesterday's race, in the top 9, and good championship points.
Yeah, it's actually my rider, Scott Ogden, that's here helping him this weekend. So I think he's down as a Brit, but he's actually from the Netherlands. And yeah, Scott's been helping him along. He's loving giving him advice and giving him some tips on and off the track. So yeah, I've been watching his progress throughout the weekend too.
How have you found the paddock over in MotoGP? You're obviously there with Michael Laverty, but you've got Josh Watley and Scott Ogden, as we've already said. Different kind of feeling, isn't it? A lot of Spanish and Italian as well is one thing. Yeah,
it's kind of been a little bit sink or swim for me. I got in there, half of our team is actually Spanish, so I've quite quickly had to learn Spanish as well. The first round we got there, there was a lot of conversations going on in the garage. I didn't understand a lot of what was going on. It was actually annoying me quite a lot. So the Spaniards do know that I can speak a bit of Spanish, but they're not aware that I understand quite a lot of what they're saying now. So I'm trying to use that to my advantage within the pits.
¿Cómo va todo? ¿Todo bien?
Sí, muy bien, Greg.
Fantastico.
Yeah.
Here we go then. Another first there for Eurosport, Taylor. On the grid then. It's a massive field, isn't it? 32 riders down to Troy Jeffrey at the back, who shouldn't really be at the back, but he had trouble in yesterday's race. So watch out for him coming through. There's Johnny Garnes, closest to us, the single-cylinder Honda's lineup. All the same bike, of course. Similar technical regulations to the European Talent Cup, but you can make a few changes here in terms of suspension, but we'll get into that as the race gets underway. Carter Brown on the pole. Away we go. It's the second one of the weekend for the Honda British Talent Cup at Silverstone in England. A few people darting from their right to their left, but it's a great, great start for all of the MLAV riders. And I think we've got a 1, 2, 3 as we come round Cops for the first time. Look at the Banks Racing Machine right up there. Harrison Crosby is the yellow bike, and Reece Stevenson's up to 4th. Reece Stevens having a really, really good start to the season as he continues to progress. Look for the Microdisc bikes as well, the red and white machines cutting through the pack. Correa, the American, is one of them, but Michael Laverty will be pleased because they're all up towards the front.
It was great yesterday, actually. After this race, I was speaking to Simon from Vision Track, who is the title sponsor of this whole project, and he's like an expectant father with these little young riders riding around there, and I know how he feels myself. I've not got any kids myself, but looking after Josh and Scott is just the same, and it's great to see so much young talent in this championship.
Johnny Garnes leads, number 57, the 13-year-old from Ilfracombe in Devon. Keanu Via's made a good start, hasn't he? He was 6th on the grid, and he was briefly up into 2nd place, but the order is shuffling. Yep, he is still indeed up there in 2nd place. There he is, Carter Brown from pole. I was going to say 3rd, but Reece Stevenson cuts through now. And number 23, Reece Stevenson, the 16-year-old from Boston, Rocket Racing. There he is on the black bike, up to 3rd place. And we said before the start, Alex Baldolini, the former World Supersport rider, is the Dorna representative here. Oh, and Reece, just as I was picking him up, nearly loses it at Beckett's.
Yeah, it's really easy for that to happen in there. We talked about this yesterday in the race. The corner is a bit of a bottlenose as you get up towards a bottleneck, sorry, not a bottlenose. We're not talking about dolphins here, Greg. As you get into that corner, it all tightens up quite a lot, and as the riders go in there, the guy in front is controlling the pace, and you can see here, just as he goes in, he's a little bit unsighted with the rider in front. Oh, yeah, actually, the rear came around a little bit there, just as he got on the throttle. And that's easy done. He ran wide there on the paint, but managed to hold it very well.
And I agree with you, no dolphins, but he is having a whale of a time. There he is, 4th place as we move into lap 3 of 22. And Keanu Via, the Dutch rider, hits the front. Johnny Garnes is down into 2nd. Carter Brown then he's 3rd. You can see on the left-hand side where they are in relation to their grid positions, and we'll keep a track of that through the race. We've got a new graphic this year as well, which shows their progression in terms of a graph. But look at this. You've got Correa there, number 40. Yes, straight through. That's brilliant. He was 6th at the start of the lap, but now the American, Julian Correa, the 13-year-old on the Cresswell Racing Machine, is up into 4th place. And look, there's Roosbrook. We mentioned him, the Dutch rider, fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, that was a great pass as he went in there. It's quite good if you can get up the inside as you approach the corner. You then got the track position. The riders on your outside can't turn in, and that's exactly what he did. Let the brakes off a little bit, got in front of them or just alongside of them, didn't let them to turn into the corner, and then got out very well as well. So he's up to 3rd now and having a great race. Roosbrook as well, my hot pick from Scott Ogden. Whatever Scott Ogden's told him is obviously working, setting the fastest lap.
There's the graphics at the top of the screen, which will show us which lap we are on. And look at the grit that Correa is finding now with another fastest lap, and he's up to 2nd, not for long, because that's Garnes with his lightweight advantage. Even having a look at Keanu Via, who leads the race. Keanu came into the category last year. There's his progression so far from 6th on the grid. And in the lead of this race, you can see which lap he took it on, and he stayed where he is. We had a lot of ups and downs yesterday, but the track temperature now is up to 33 degrees Celsius here at Silverstone. Via, like Garnes, Taylor, very lightweight, isn't he? So frustrates the other riders. They pull away on the long straights here, the Wellington Straight and the start finish, but the others are having to work harder in the corners. Then again, when we get to somewhere like Alton Park next time out, much more physical track, that's going to perhaps go towards the other riders, and the lightweight ones won't have such an advantage.
Yeah, it's a bit cat and mouse on this track for the bigger riders. They lose out around this section. This is flat out on one of these bikes. They're using all of the power, but then on the tighter corners they can use their strength and their size to probably brake later and get the bike up the inside of the smaller riders. So it's a disadvantage in some areas, but when you do get to tracks like Alton Park, some of the bigger riders in this class will find it a little bit easier on the change direction.
Via, incidentally, who is now in second place, number 53, the young Dutch rider who might not be second for long, had 1 second place last year, 1 podium, and that was on the national circuit at Donington. Harrison Crosby there, easy to spot Harrison with the bright yellow machine. So let's have a look at this. It's lightweight Garnett versus lightweight Via, side by side down the Wellington Straight. Correa's going through for third on Crosby, or at least trying to. Correa's having a look even at his teammate there as we get down into Brooklands. The corner speed Crosby is carrying, not just at Beckett's, but through Brooklands and Luffield here, is really, really impressive. There's Carter Brown on the white machine, number 74. Reece Stevenson right behind him, and we have a breakaway of 6 then. It's of second now, back to Harrison de Soy in 7th place. McKay is 8th. McCabe is 9th after the crash yesterday. Willis is 10th. Roosbroek is now 11th from Lucas Brown, but they're shuffling all the time. Bailey Stewart Campbell just inside the points scorers. Long races here, unlike the other support junior categories here at BSB. They're all on full racing slick tyres. Moto 3 slick tyres from Dunlop, and now the Banks racing machine goes through. Crosby underneath Johnny Garnett, and for the first time this season, Crosby's leading.
I was just going to say, Harrison looks like he's got a lot of confidence in the front of his bike. You can see as he gets on the approach to the corners, he's really confident to let the front brake off, get up the inside of the riders. You'll see here, he'll actually let the brake off and rail right around the outside. That's all confidence in the front tyre that he's got there that's letting him get away with doing that, and it's, yeah, great to see it's keeping him at the front of this race.
Tony, you've raced in Red Bull Rookies Cup, haven't you, and 125s and things in the years when you're in pack racing, as Stevenson exceeds track limits in the background. Be careful of that one. It must be just patience, though. Patience is a virtue. It must be so tempting to want to be in the lead, but you don't necessarily need to be in the lead every single time over the line, do you?
Yeah, in my Red Bull rookie career, a lot of the races were like this, where there were sort of 8-10 riders in the front group, and it took me too long to figure out exactly what I should be doing. And what I used to tend to do was think, oh, I'm in the bunch, I'll be fine, I'll wait till the last lap. But what tends to happen is the riders that are in the top 3 circulate within the top 3. One lap you're first, the next lap you're third, you get back to first, and you circulate in that area. I tended to circulate between 6th and 10th, and then ended up between 6th and 10th. So it's generally the riders that can keep at the front of this, because it doesn't take a lot for one rider to make a mistake or someone have an aggressive pass on someone else, and suddenly the group can get split up. So you'll see here these riders are keep trying to make their way to the front to keep themselves circulating in that front bunch.
This is that second group. It's about 2 seconds now. It's up to just over 2 seconds, and that would have increased, I guess, on this lap. Harley McCabe's at the front of the group. Here's Peter Willis, the Northern Irish rider, number 99. He was the second rider involved in that really bad accident involving Casey O'Gorman, if you remember, at Knock Hill last year. That put Casey out for a selection of races, and he still managed to bounce back and win at the championship. Great to see Peter Willis on top form. He was right up there in qualifying. Scored 8 points for 8th place in yesterday's race, but could have been even higher up, and he's definitely going to be one to watch. He is one of those many MLAV Vision Track Academy riders in this race. There are 5 of them: McCabe, Willis, Carter Brown, Dan Goodman and Johnny Garnett. And by the way, a very quick shout out for Evan Belford on the City Lifting by RS Racing machine. Out of action, broken leg I'm afraid, crashed on Friday in practice. Garnett was behind him and had nowhere to go, so best wishes to Evan Belford. He definitely would have been a title contender this year, but you just don't know, do you? If you can see the champion last year out for several races and back to win it, it could still happen as we come through to the end of lap 8. This is Woodcote Corner. This is where Rins and Marquez were side by side for the MotoGP race finish just a few years ago. We're not even at half race distance yet, Taylor, and these races are so much longer, aren't they, than the other junior races here at BSB. But again, it's road to MotoGP. All of the Talent Cups are like that, because otherwise it's just going to be a massive culture shock when you eventually get to Moto3, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. I'd forgotten myself exactly how long a Superstock race is, but the National Superstock 1000 Championship is roughly 16 laps, and this is another 6 laps on top of that. So it's really good for these kids to get a lot more track time. They can learn how to ride their bikes and really improve as riders.
Down into the left-hander at Brooklands, and again, Via and Garnett are ahead at the end of the straight. It's as you were here at Silverstone, apart from the fact that Correa and Stevenson are now side by side. Something flapping around there on the right-hand side of number 23's leathers. That's the black bike here in our picture in 5th position. So we're around Copse, this is the left-hand side. But look on the right-hand side of his leathers as he comes out of Copse corner. Taylor Mackenzie, what do you reckon that might be?
It could be numerous things. One, it could be a piece of duct tape. So on the front of these bikes, they use duct tape to keep the radiator hot. It's difficult to see exactly, and then they take that off during the race. So it could be getting stuck as they take that off, or it could be the leather badges that they have on these leathers are stitched in, and then sometimes if you have a crash, the stitching can come off, but they're still glued on, so it'll stick on still, but come off. Well, the third option is he went to the toilet and he's not got rid of the toilet paper properly. Could be any of those three, if you ask me.
Have you ever had that problem yourself?
Not publicly.
Right, anyway, back in the motorcycle race, we're just coming through to the end of lap 10 here, and this is your top 6 pulling away from the rest of the group. What is the gap? It's 4 seconds now, back to a really spirited fight for 7th as well. Via, Garnes, Crosby, Stevenson in the middle, Carter Brown, inside line there, attacking is Correa, the American, and he goes through. Very, very confident on the brakes, isn't he? He was actually up there yesterday. We had 3 different nationalities on the front row of the grid from qualifying. Desoy again, we know how strong he is under brakes. That's Johnny Garnes on the outside. Keanu Vai closest to us. There goes Desoy. Crosby rather, not Harrison Desoy. Harrison Crosby, sorry, on number 15, the Banks Racing Machine. Garnes as well is going to be thinking surely about the championship. I know it's still early days, but he won the race yesterday, didn't he? And he was so smart, actually. If you are just joining us, there was an incident yesterday. Harley McCabe had a problem, and there was a fear for a while that oil might be down on the track. It wasn't, but obviously the riders were concerned about it. And Garnes backed off. He was leading, dropped to about 4th, let the others hit the scene first to survey the scenario. That's smart, isn't it, from a 13-year-old?
Very smart. It's these situations where oil is down on the track. I fell victim to it myself at turn 1 here a couple of years ago in Superbike. There was a huge stream of oil across the track from Hector Barbara's bike, but things happen so fast on a motorbike. You're approaching these corners, even in this class they're still doing 140 mile an hour on the straights, and you approach it that fast. By the time the first rider's gone down, it's easy for you to just slip off as well. So it was good presence of mind to think that. But yeah, it's not easy because obviously the oil is just in a thin stream across the track. You can't see it at all, and before you know it, you've gone over it. It's very difficult to know what to do.
The thing you were mentioning before about the tape on the radiators, I was chatting to some of the guys about that last year. Steve Patrinson, one of the legendary men in the paddock here, who's taken titles in the Moto3, the Moto Star Days, 125s, and running riders here in the Talent Cup as well. And some of them like the riders to be able to remove the tape manually, and others don't, do they?
Yeah, so I didn't explain that very well. So the tape on the radiator keeps the radiator warmer. So if the race starts off cold and it gets hot, you've got the option to remove that. And the way they do it is a piece of duct tape all up the front of the radiator, and then it's just put on a cable tie on the handlebar, and you can pull the cable tie and it pulls the duct tape off the front of the radiator. And the reason you do that is if the bike starts overheating in the race, you can pull that cable tie and cool your bike back down. But sometimes with younger riders, they're not always concentrating on exactly what's happening. If the bike's not at the right temperature, you pull that tape off and the bike runs cold, it could then potentially have a cold seizure. So it's tricky to know what to do. They've got a good idea of what temperature these bikes run at and in what conditions they'll run at that temperature. So yeah, that's what it's there for.
Must be quite tricky though if you take it off and then wish you hadn't done it, because it's too late by then, isn't it? There's the progression, left and right, red is down, green is up as they fly towards us. This is the group headed by one of the Ryan Satsui machines, the Sifty lifting bike there, the red bike, number 43, the 14-year-old Ryan Hitchcock, and this is that second group. So here's Ryan in 7th place. Right behind him is Harley McCabe. Harrison Desoy is in there. Number 61 is Harrison McKay, who will be turning 14 tomorrow, so happy birthday to him. And incidentally, talking of ages, as we rejoin that leading group, the minimum age has gone up this year from 12 to 13, but no rider is older than 17 in this race. 13 to 17, that went up, of course, as many classes in racing did after some of the very serious accidents we had in 2021. We're only just, though, into the second half of this race, and tactics will really start to come into play now. In case anyone's wondering about tyre wear, Taylor, will that be an issue on this short track with these sorts of bikes?
The tyres will degrade slightly during the race, but it's not going to be like a superbike race where we get tyre dropping off really fast and riders dropping backwards. Let's just have a look here.
Ted Wilkinson's in the mix. What's happened? Oh, we were going to say exceeding track limits. He's done well to hold on to that one.
That is a very impressive save. He's just ran out of track there, and hopefully the grass appears in time. It does. And yeah, impressive save. He just got a little bit wide on the exit there, got on the green, and that corner tightens up on itself. It's very easy to just run out of track. Before you know it, you're on the gravel, and there's not a lot of grip on that gravel.
That was the R&B racing bike a little bit further down the field. Talking of further down the field, we will see them lapping some of the other riders, won't we? They're not necessarily even that far off the pace, but because it's such a short track here, because it is group racing as they go 3 abreast again, this 6 at the front will be catching some of those back markers later on in the race. It'll be absolutely critical to see where they catch them and how efficient those slower runners are with the blue flags. We've just passed the 2/3 cut-off now, so that's critical. Full points would be handed out if the race were to be red flagged from this point onwards. Look at the gap they pull every time down the Wellington Straight. It's always Via and Garness, 2 or 3 bike lengths ahead of the rest of them. Correa, Carter Brown, there's Crosby, Reece Stevenson there at the back of the train, having a much improved 2022. A lot of gravel there on the track where that rider's just rejoined from the off. Still running, by the way, Wilkinson, and last time he crossed the line he was in 19th place. We'll see where he is. I think he still is in 19th place despite that moment. There's Correa, the American, having a look around the outside. Completely different sort of track here at Silverstone for Correa, but some of the tighter tracks we go to later in the year will be quite similar, won't they, to the American circuits. Garrett Gerloff said to me a few times in the World's Paddock that he likes Donington because it's so similar to some of the American tracks.
I think using Donington as an example of a UK circuit is probably, he's had an easy introduction to UK tracks there. If he thinks Donington's a UK circuit, I want to bring it to Cadwell or not Kill. But it is more like a British track, and the American tracks, from what I've seen in AMA, I've never raced at a lot of those tracks myself, but they do look similar. They're fast and flowing and bumpy, and they also have a lot of undulations in as well, so it'll be a lot more like what he's used to. It's different for the European racers that come over here from Spain and Italy, and they come to our tracks, and it can be a massive culture shock, but I do think it is more similar to some of the American tracks, yeah.
Keanu Via, number 53, he's never won a race here in the Honda British Talent Cup. Johnny Garness certainly has. Most recent win for him was here yesterday. He's leading this championship. All of these other riders are striving to get onto the top step of the podium for the first time. Look at Garness just having a look on the outside as we come down to Maggots. There's Correa. Carter Brown here. He was fastest in the fastest laps yesterday, which put him on pole. He was also fastest in the warm-up earlier on today. I wonder if Carter's just boxing clever. He's one of the more experienced riders in the class. He was right up there, second in the championship last year. Let's watch him towards the end of this race. Here is the second group, and the gap now is 7 seconds back to these guys. But what a scrap this is for 7th place downwards. It's just as fraught as the one at the front, isn't it? Number 61 towards us is Harrison McKay. Then 2 of the Microtis bikes right behind him. Oh, there's a lot of marbles and gravel on the track there. And Roosbrook, who you mentioned earlier on, is right up, Taylor, in this group. Number 84, one of the many rookies in the category this year. They're learning quickly as well, because although the Talent Cup get a little bit more track time than the other categories, it's still relatively limited, isn't it? So they're learning very quickly.
You can see in a couple of areas here, as they get a run out onto the faster corners, the corners then tighten up on themselves, so it looks like they're just about to get past, then all of a sudden they run out of track. So a little bit of track knowledge there. You can see Roosbrook, as the race will go on, he'll try and figure that out a little bit, because as you come out of that last corner, it's crucial to get a run through to the checkered flag on with the finish line. Johnny Garness is still in second here. He's looking good. It's a similar race to how this panned out yesterday. Johnny got away at the front at the beginning of the race. They caught him back up, and then he sat there until the last lap and then pulled the pin on the last lap. So if he's thinking about doing the same so far, he's doing a good job of that, and I'll look forward to seeing what he does on the last lap.
Yeah, and he planned it perfectly yesterday, didn't he? The others will surely know now that that plan worked out perfectly for him. So let's see what they can do to stop that from happening. But I suppose, Taylor, if he clears Via, we know he'll pull away down the Wellington Straight. We'll see if he can pull the pin and then pull away moving into that final lap of the race. Is this going to be contact? I think it probably is in that second group as they fight hard for position.
I can't talk about anyone making a hole when I've got a brother called Tara McKenzie at the same corner. But that was incredibly close riding there, and he only just rubbed him. I was very impressed that he didn't back off. In the Superbike race you saw there where Kyle Ryder had to take a big look and roll out of it, where he kept the throttle open there. It was quite good to watch.
So what you're saying is you can get through Lovefield side by side and not take the guy on the outside down. Is that what you're saying?
No comment.
Right, we're coming through to lap 20, 3 to go. Correa has put in a 1:01.6, 40, third position. That's the fastest lap of the race so far. That orange circle on the left-hand side of the screen is the fastest lap so far. Okay, let's see if Garnes can do then what Taylor's just been talking about and pull away in the closing stages. At the moment, they are absolutely locked together, and they continue, despite fighting like this, to pull away from the second group. They're now 9 seconds ahead of them. Let's look down the track as well. No lap traffic as yet, look, as they look down towards Brooklands.
Carter's also made his way through here. Maybe he was boxing clever, sat in the group, saving his tyres and his energy, ready for this last lap. He'll be fully aware that Johnny's tactic yesterday was to sit there till the end and then go for it on the last lap. And for him to stop that, he's going to have to be in front of him to try and hold him up going onto the straight, because if he's not, Johnny will gap him coming onto the straight, and he'll really struggle to make a pass at the end of it as we approach Brooklands and Lovefield. So Carter's got to be thinking about getting in front before they get to that point, but there's only 2 laps left now, so he's running out of time.
Prizes given out to all of these guys and girls as well in terms of tyres. The winner of each race gets 1 front and 1 rear from Dunlop. Second gets a rear, third gets a front. Cash prizes are given out as well, £500 for the winner, and that's from MSVR down to 10th place, £50, and Dunlop awards cash prizes to the top 3 in the championship as well. This then is the penultimate lap, and as you can see, Garnes is in front. Carter Brown, as you said, Taylor, is trying to go with him. This is where we know Garnes has the advantage in a straight line. Via does as well. He drafts ahead of Carter Brown, and they know Garnes is trying to check out as he did yesterday. Can they close up on Johnny Garnes? Look, he's absolutely pulling it. You can see it visually. Look how he's escaping from the pack. He's going to do it again, isn't he?
Yeah, and Carter can see that as well. He's getting a little bit frustrated trying to get past, and he needs to be in front, because if he doesn't, making the pass here is going to cost him time himself, and that just allows Johnny to eke away at the front.
Johnny Garnes then leads them into the final lap of this second race of the weekend, and this is where Carter Brown, his teammate here, number 74, as they start the last tour, needs to close in, and this is good news for Carter Brown, because Via is attacking Garnes. Look, Brown and Crosby have more corner speed through Copse. Garnes, though, holds the advantage. Brown's got to clear them now for second place to be able to do anything about his teammate. Oh, up the inside comes Via and Correa, and Garnes loses the lead. I didn't expect that to happen. And
What
it's
a
the
pass,
Cresswell
that was
bike there. That was
amazing.
unbelievable.
Just let the brakes off, went underneath 3 riders. He was the last person in that group I was expecting to get through, but that was an amazing pass.
So where is Garnes? He's in second place. It's Keanu Via on target for his first one at the moment. Stevenson, oh, Garnes goes down! And that's the championship leader out of the race. He was having to push time on another one. Carter Brown's gone, 2 more have gone. Did Stevenson go as well? So it's the 2 Cresswell bikes now with the Banks Racing Machine of Crosby between them. It's Keanu Via, the Dutch rider. Can he come through for his first victory? The 13-year-old from Meppel. Keanu Via wins. Crosby is second. Correa from America is on the podium as we lose 3 of the top 6 in the last 2 corners of the race. Carter Brown, Johnny Garnes and Reece Stevenson all down and out. Anything can happen in motorcycle racing.
Unfortunately, that couldn't have gone much worse for the Vision Track riders there. They were looking great up until that point. Correa did really well to come through with Via as well. I think it was Stevenson as well that got caught up with Carter Brown. Didn't quite see what happened.
There's Garnes first of all, Taylor. So he's lost it by himself. Now let's see what happened between Reece Stevenson. We're going to follow Garnes, obviously, as the bike and rider skate off, slide off onto the runoff area at Brooklands. He's looking up the road at the lead he briefly had just a second or so before, and that is certain almost race victory gone for Johnny Garnes at the same corner which claimed Evan Belford in Friday practice.
You could see as he went wide, he tried to go around the outside. He's probably braking a little bit later than he normally does. And then as he backshifted the gears, the back end of the bike locked up, and that put him even wider. And when he tried to turn in and still make the corner, it flicked him up over the high side. Carter looking very dejected here, unfortunately.
Okay, let's see if we can see what happened to the other two now. Reece Stevenson, number 23, fourth rider, the black bike. Look, what's going to happen? He's lost it too, and there was absolutely nothing Carter Brown could do. That was very Taz McKenzie, O'Halloran-esque coming out of there.
Well, and Tom Sykes as well in the previous race, so it's yeah, very unfortunate. It was a huge high side. It's very difficult to high side a bike with this amount of power that big. Carter also incredibly unlucky just to get clipped.
Keanu Via then, the Dutch rider, has broken his duck. The 13-year-old wins in the Honda British Talent Cup. We knew he was going to be a star this year. We knew he was coming. He's a former... Let's have another... Oh, dear, that's Johnny Garnett again. There wasn't much he could do about that, was there? And then look up the road, you'll see the other two go as well. Johnny, that must be the longest slide of his life. Thankfully, not banging his head too hard there. He's just furious with himself. And there, then, is the detritus as Stevenson and Carter Brown go down as well between Brooklands and Luffield. And thank goodness, as Carter Brown makes his feelings known, that second group weren't too close to them, and the bikes were more or less out of the way by the time the second lot came through. What an absolute nightmare for the MLab Vision Track Academy there. They're two top riders in the race, both out in the last two corners. Reece Stevenson, there's that thing that was flapping around. Is it a bit of tape, Taylor? I think it probably is, isn't it?
I think it's his badge from his other leg. I think he's had a crash and it's burnt it off, and it's actually flicked up, yeah. That
was obviously from earlier in the race. Oh, wow. Well, that's going to shake up the championship standings, isn't it? Here at Silverstone, safety cars going around now just to check the track, but what a mess in those last few corners. And of course, it's complete. We'll see the full results in a minute, but it's completely shuffled up the order further back and put a lot more people into the top 10 who weren't. Points, don't forget, down to 15th place. The track clear-up operation going on. Bikes being cleared from the track here at Silverstone. Riders making their way back to the pits. Keanu Via, a real star last year, but now could be a title contender. The young 13-year-old from Meppel in the Netherlands wins for the first time, and it's a Microdisc Cresswell Racing 1-3. Harrison Crosby for Banks Racing between them. Julian Carrere from America up on the podium, and some new names this year. Look, Clayton Edmonds is up there. Harrison Desoy 5th. Roosbrook has been tipped by Taylor McKenzie all weekend long. Another Cresswell bike. Top 6, McCabe, Willis, Hitchcock, Brown and Hopkins. The SP names there in some of these team names are Steve Patrickson, legendary team owner here, and bike tuner. Dan Goodman, Ollie Walker, Bailey Stewart Campbell completing the top 15. Right, what's this done for the championship standings after two races? Harrison Crosby then it is who leads the Honda British Talent Cup. He was second in both races, so there's his 40 points. Keanu Via, today's winner, just behind him. Then it's Garnett ruining that mistake. Correa and Edmonds completing the top 5, and Paul Carter Brown, who was looking good there until the last few seconds, only 8th heading to round 2. Round 2, incidentally, for the Honda British Talent Cup will be taking place at the beginning of May at Alton Park in Cheshire. What a way to head there after real drama here at Silverstone.
Keanu Via, congratulations, your first ever win in the Honda British Talent Cup. Obviously, you were racing here last season. You managed a second, I believe. What does it feel like to be at the top of the podium?
Yeah, thank you very much. But it was a very strong race for me. I started in the 6th place, but before the race I knew there was going to be a group. So yeah, I was just storming into the front of the group, and I was in the lead. And I was in the lead for 10 laps, and then Johnny Garnes tried to overtake me, but he can't get past me. So yeah, and on the last lap, everybody tried to overtake me, but then I get them back. And yeah, I was very happy at the end of the race, and thanks to my sponsors, and thanks to Microlice, John Cresswell, my family, and my sponsors.
I just saw your team there saying, did the brakes work off camera? And what was your reply to that?
Yeah, in the first race the brakes were very soft, so I couldn't get the overtakes right. And now the brakes were very good, so yeah.
Well, so awesome, Keanu. I mean, go and enjoy that with your team. They're smiling out of shot of the camera there, and your dad, I know, will be extremely proud of you, so congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Many thanks to Rachel Stringer there. Yes, his dad is Johan Weyer. He raced for 19 years himself in the Dutch and German Championship Supersport and Superbike. 4 times the Supersport wildcard in the World Championship. And of course, we already know, don't we, over in the MotoGP paddock, that Colin Weyer, the Red Bull rookie, has been a real hot shot over there as well. Taylor Mackenzie's done the Moto3 Junior World Championship as well as the Red Bull rookies. And now Keanu here, the 2019 European Mini-Moto champion. He just beat Johnny Garness, actually, to that title. Wins for the first time in this, the Honda British Talent Cup. That was a heck of a race, wasn't it? From
yeah,
start
it was
to
a
finish.
fantastic end to it. I really wasn't expecting that. The Johnny Garness looked like he'd played his plan perfectly like yesterday, but it all got a bit mixed up as they approached into the Maggots-Beckett section, and then Carter was unlucky to go down with Stevenson as well at that final corner.
Yeah, there was just nowhere to go. Great stuff for the Michaelis Cresswell team. Correa here from American. Isn't this great, though? All the different nationalities up on the podium. Britain, the Netherlands, and America represented here on the Honda British Talent Cup podium after a frenetic race, one of the most frenetic we've seen since the category started. A few regulation changes a few years ago, but the British Talent Cup started with Rory Skinner winning in 2018, Scott Ogden, your rider now in the World Championship, Franco Bourne and Casey O'Gorman, the first 4 champions. You can see why Weyer, like Garness, is so quick on the straights. Look at the height difference, even though he's on the top step.
Yeah, it's like looking at Taz in the podium. No matter who he stood next to, he's still the shortest.
Ooh, controversial.
I can say it while he's not here.
Yeah, exactly. But he might watch this back on demand, and there could be some problems there. Keanu Weyer then, he's still only 13 years of age. Alex Baldolini was the man handing out the podium trophies. There you go then, a new winner in the Honda British Talent Cup. Keanu Weyer from the Netherlands, 13 years of age, wins at Silverstone. Drama from start to finish in the second and final Honda British Talent Cup race of the weekend here at Silverstone. Away they went with Carter Brown up pole position, but lightweight teammate Johnny Garness sweeping around the outside and was in the lead at Cox. Banks Racing Machine of Harrison Crosby, the yellow bike there, flying through. He's going to be one to watch and comes out of this round second in the championship with 2 second places from the 2 races. Early doors, Keanu Weyer and Johnny Garness were usually leading over the line because they're so quick and light down the long Wellington straight. Correa from America, number 40. Julian was in the mix, and then, would you believe it, Johnny Garness goes down at Brooklands. Stevenson and Brown go down as well between Brooklands and Luffield, and out of the last corner came Keanu Weyer, the 13-year-old from Metal. What an incredible race to win for the first time in the Honda British Talent Cup. Brilliant race.